Hi, Steve Gamache here with a Chef Knives to Go quick look product video on the Tanaka Ginsan Gyuto 210mm. This relatively new line of knives for Mark Richmond at least the time of doing this video is composed of a Ginsan or Ginsan 3 stainless steel core, and the heat treat rating on that's about 62. The construction is stainless steel cladding, softer cladding over the top of that Ginsan core, and it's a little hard to tell with the lighting the way it is, but you can kind of see the core steel on the edge there. The cladding on this is kind of a modeled, almost a Nishiji pear type finish, but kind of a little Kudaruchi stainless finish on it, very nicely done. You've got real nice hand carved, chiseled kanji on it, and the weight on this, it's a very light blade for a Gyuto. It is 125 grams, 4.4 ounces. The blade length is a little undersized. I think they're kind of measuring from the tip to the ferrule here, but it's about 202 millimeter, about 8 inches, and the overall length is about 13.2 inches. The spine at the base, these are nice and thin knives, is about 2.4, and pretty much holds that, tapers a little bit with the distal, not too much until you hit the grind on the knife itself towards the tip, very nice and fine at the tip. And the blade height is pretty nice and tall for a 210. It's a 48.75 millimeter here at the heel to the spine, so relatively tall 210 or slightly undersized 210 Gyuto. The handle type is a nicely done, good basic D-shaped magnolia wood buffalo horn ferrule with nice fit and finish on it. The circumference is a kind of a normal full-size 3-inch circumference handle, and I measure those at the ferrule here. The characteristics of this knife, let's look at the main focus of this knife is two parts. It's got a real nice profile to the blade edge. You can see a nice sweet spot, flat spot here, and a nice belly towards the tip. And then these are ground quite thin at the edge. Mark has got a primo set of these coming from Tanaka that have really nicely ground blades. So the geometry of the blade's very nicely done. I think it's due to just trying to make the price point. These knives do have a little bit of a feel out of the box that they were made quickly, which is understandable at the price point. But what you're going to give up a little bit is some of the finish work on the sanding to make them comfortable. So while they took a lot of care on the blade itself and the grind and the geometry of the blade and a nice thin at the edge, the actual edge bevel's kind of so-so. And then there's this knife I've done some work to, but the out of the box is pretty rough here at the spine, and it's really pretty sharp here back at the choil neck area. So what I did was took a Dremel and some sandpaper as well and spent about 15 minutes knocking this down and smoothing that off and then rounding off the edges back here to make this knife pretty comfortable. So it doesn't take too long with some little bit of patience and some elbow grease and maybe a couple or a power tool or so, and you can get this knife in pretty good shape. And right now it's very comfortable. And I also put a new edge on it, which it needed, and it's very, very sharp. So this knife is a great performer, but you just want to be aware of some of those fit and finish issues out of the box and know what you're going to get. But you get a great performing knife for a modest amount of money in return for that. Just to show you a comparison, I have not touched the 240 version of this. So if I get this up tight, you might be able to see it, but you can see the edge on that is a little bit rough on the spine, and also you've got quite a bit of sharp edging here back in the neck choil area, and not very comfortable out of the box. So those two things, in my opinion, need some work. Other than that, it's a great knife. The thing that immediately comes to mind kind of when I use this knife, and I did use it on some product, and it really is a nice performing knife, especially at this price point. The slightly undersized blade, the lightness of the blade, this might make a really good line knife for somebody in an environment, professional environment, because it's all stainless. It's light, a little bit smaller than a full 210. Could be an awesome line knife. So there you have the Tanaka Ginsan Gyuto 210mm.